Welcome to Canada's podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Schneider Electric, supporting Canadian businesses with innovative energy management and automation solutions. Schneider Electric, your digital partner for sustainability and efficiency.
Russell, welcome. We've both been really busy, so it's been a little bit of a long journey itself in terms of getting together. But I'm sure Easy365, crypto, NFTs, all of that thing is very much in the news. So it's very relevant. So tell us a bit more about the venture, why you started it, and what its future might be.
Sure. Thanks, Phil. And it's been a bit of a challenge getting this underway. So really nice to be here finally today. But, the universe finds a way in the end. I've been on this crypto journey since about 2015 when the story actually starts a few years before that. I first discovered Bitcoin around 2012, somewhere around there. I think it was about $50 a coin. Mm-hmm. And I did a little bit of research. I was like, okay, this seems interesting. I went to my wife and I said, I want to buy 100 of these Bitcoins for $5,000. And she's like, are you crazy? Do you think I'm gonna hand over my hard-earned money to some scammer on the internet that invented fake currency? There's no way. She was financially responsible. So to this day, I tease her about the 100 Bitcoins, extra 100 Bitcoins I should have that I don't. But a few years went by, and around 2015, I was at the time focused on angel investing, and I was looking for emerging markets, emerging technologies. Mm-hmm. And I came across Bitcoin again through a friend of mine. And I was like, okay, I started looking into it a little bit more, really started wrapping my head around not just cryptocurrencies and in general, but specifically the blockchain technology that underlies it. And to me, this was really what captivated my imagination. And, I started my career in 1995, just as Windows 95 and the first Netscape Navigator were released. And this was, for the internet, its mass adoption moment, because it represented for the very first time an easy way for people to get online. And from 95 to 96 to 97, the internet grew 20x annually to where it is today. And so I saw a lot of parallels in terms of the transformational potential of what this blockchain technology represented. And I felt very strongly, and feel even more strongly today, that, when you look back from 1995 to today, over the last 25 years or so, the incredible influence that the internet has had, and the fact that, it has changed virtually every aspect of our society. And I see the same potential with blockchain, that we're just in the infancy of it. And over the next 20 years, I believe it'll have an even greater impact on society than the internet has had over the last 20. So that really started my journey, and everything else pretty much got pushed aside. My focus became Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I started building mining rigs. I tried to brush off some of my old development skills, and I think too much time had gone by, so I abandoned that. But I did mine. I was actively trading. I was investing. I was looking at a variety of different projects. At the time, there weren't that many, but and then in 2017, that's when the real excitement started, and this was really Bitcoin's coming out party. In January, it was $1,000, and by December, it had was just under 20,000, and that 20x rise in 12 months obviously got a lot of people's attention. And throughout that entire bull run, on a daily basis, 5 times a day, sometimes more, people were calling me, old friends from high school, people on Facebook that see that I was posting about crypto. And the question was always the same, like, I want in. How do I buy Bitcoin? How do I get it? I did some research. I couldn't figure it out. And there was such a massive barrier to entry for the average person that I felt this was a major hurdle to mass adoption. So in January of 2018, at the height of the market, just before crypto winter set in, I founded Easy365 with the goal of trying to help facilitate mass adoption by making it as easy as possible for brand new users with no experience to enter the market. At the time, especially onboarding fiat, buying Bitcoin for cash was exceptionally difficult. Certainly, going the other way was nearly impossible. Things have improved a little bit, but there's still a long way to go. And that was the idea, is that we started with the concept with an exchange called Easy Exchange, which is live. And especially back then, now again things are a little bit better, but we were basically the first exchange with 24-hour telephone support. We were one of the first exchanges with credit card processing. And again, the idea is that, if you're an average person and you want to start investing in stocks, you can go to E-Trade or Ameritrade or Pricewaterhouse. You can open up an account with any number of brokerages. And it's fairly intuitive. If you've done online banking, you can figure it out. And if you get stuck, there's always a telephone number you can pick up and somebody will help walk you through it. None of that existed in the crypto space. And so, it really was a situation where only the most technically savvy and determined individuals ever made it all the way through to the end. Most people would simply give up at some point along the way. Yeah. And this would, in my mind, leave Bitcoin permanently in the fringes. So where we are now, 3.5 years later, is we are developing a blockchain-based ecosystem. So the exchange is live. We have an NFT component that just launched called Easy NFT. We have a gaming and esports component that we're building out that will launch next called Easy Win. And then we have a learning portal called Easy Academy, because education is a critically important component to mass adoption. So that's basically the idea. And, it's been an incredible journey, 3.5, almost now in January, come January, it'll be 4 years. The industry changes dramatically. We've had to pivot a number of times, but it's an incredible space to be in.
But you didn't start as an entrepreneur. How did you get there?
It's a really, that's a great question. And I've had this discussion with other people because earlier this year I turned 50. So, I became an entrepreneur for the first time at 47. And most entrepreneurial stories are, like Mark Zuckerberg or those kinds of people that start in their 20s. Yeah. But looking back, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I truly believe that I needed all of the experience that I've had over the 25 years in the corporate industry. I needed, the 2 decades of maturity of all of the, the failures and the stumbles along the way. And I needed that entire life in order for this to be successful. I think that if I would have started this, forget the fact that blockchain didn't exist when I was in my 20s or my 30s, but if I would have tried any sort of entrepreneurial venture, I'm certain, well, I shouldn't say certain, but I suspect that things wouldn't have gone as well, because I wouldn't have had all of this living that I have now done. And so I love where I am. I had a good career. I hope I never have to go back into that world, but it's really, really valuable to have had that experience.
So, you talked about starting up. I mean, everyone needs some kind of financing. You've raised money over the last few years, and presently are doing the same thing. For those that haven't been there, what are the key elements, for attracting and winning confidence of investors? I mean, what would you say in the last 5 years that you said, oh yeah, it's got to be like this?
So it might seem like a cliche, and I always think of that. The people say that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. But to a certain extent, that's true. And what I have found the biggest differentiator, because great ideas are plentiful. Executing them is obviously a lot more difficult. But when you go in front of an investor, it's not enough just to have a good idea. Some investors will respond to that, and that may be enough. But in my experience, what I found is the passion behind the pitch is what's really critical. And investors want to see that you're emotionally invested in the project, and they want to see that this is something that you have a personal interest in and a personal passion in. And that's, for me, like, again, it is a cliche, but I in incredible amount of effort and time and money and everything that I've spent over the last 3.5 years, I don't really feel like it's a job. It hasn't really felt like work, because even if I never started Easy365, I would have been in front of the computer doing crypto investing and doing researching projects and doing all this stuff on my own. So having that passion, I think, is really critical, and truly believing in what you're doing. And again, it's the proof is in the pudding. I've been bootstrapping this project. We have raised some money, but for the most part, it's 3.5 years, and a lot of investment made, and I don't regret it for a second.
At Schneider Electric, we empower Canadian businesses to utilize energy and resources efficiently. Schneider Electric, the future of energy.
Well, I mean, are entrepreneurs like you and me, are we wired differently? I mean, is there something, in a positive way, is there something unique about the entrepreneurial mindset?
I think there is. And yeah, there's positives and there's negatives, because I think the level of risk taking that is necessary can definitely be a con in certain settings. The ability to just scrape by and do whatever needs to be done. The ability to problem solve when things pop up and seem insurmountable. It is a unique mentality, I think, and sometimes I wonder, I'll be lying in bed going, well, what did I get myself into? But those thoughts are few and far between. We are human after all, during setbacks and things of that nature. But overall, it's an incredible place to be, and I'm very comfortable.
No, it's incredible. But I mean, what's the best thing? What made you did 20 years not being an entrepreneur. What's the major difference? What's that switch from here to here kind of thing?
I think it's the ability to control, to a certain extent, control the outcome. And at the highest level, I would say, I still look back. It was my partner, my soon-to-be partner, and I, who was at the time we were just friends. We went for lunch, and okay, so I'll give you this story as well, because it helps put things into context. So he was one of the guys that called me for help in buying Bitcoin, and I took him through. We went out for lunch. I gave him the intro. I showed him, where to go to the exchange, how to get in, do your KYC, et cetera, et cetera. And a couple of weeks later, he called me back and he said, "This has been the most frustrating exercise of my life. I've been stumped every step of the way. I still haven't gotten through. I just, can we go out for lunch again? I have a million more questions." So we went out for lunch again. And the second time we sat down, and he said, "Listen, I come from a customer support background. I've run call centers out of the Philippines for incoming and outgoing and sales and tech support and things like that." He said, "Why don't we utilize my existing call centers in the Philippines, and we can provide support for crypto companies, because there's no, he's like, I keep getting stumped and there's no phone call. You send them an email, you don't hear back for weeks. It's crazy." So, and then I said, "Why don't we just build a platform from the ground up with the support already baked right in?" And that's literally how the idea started. And it was that impetus where he needed the help, and so we sat down for lunch. We came up with this idea. We went home. We met the next day. We talked about it a little bit more, and within 3 months, there was a company registered. We were in an office. We had some employees. We were building this out, and it's just incredibly rewarding to be able to take something from your mind and then manifest it in the real world. I think that's what, I'm not an artist. I have zero artistic skill, but it blows my mind that somebody can envision something in their mind and then create something with their hands, whether it's a painting or a sculpture that other people can then enjoy and admire. And, building a business, there's some definite analogies to that. You're taking something from your mind and you're manifesting it through your hands and through, and to be able to realize a vision like that is really not possible in a corporate environment unless you're the CEO or thereabouts, or you're a founder. So I like I said, I had a very rewarding 20 plus year career in the corporate world, and had senior positions, had a lot of influence. But it's different. You come up with a vision. If it's a large enough hierarchy, good luck trying to get that implemented, especially if it's groundbreaking, if it's something that's never been done before. There's a lot of conservativeness within the corporate world for obvious reasons. So I think, to me, that's the most exciting thing is just being able to realize your vision.
If you had to pick one word to describe yourself, Russell, what would that word be, and why?
The first word that popped into my head when you said that was tenacious. So to me, basketball.
That's a common one. Yeah, I think we're all
that is a common one.
We don't know when to quit.
Maybe visionary as well. I do like to, my skill is more on the my wife is the detail oriented one in the family, thank God. My head is usually in the clouds, so I do like imagining things. I do like coming up with ideas that have never been thought of before. It's exciting to break new ground. That to me is what I like to try to always accomplish.
On the mentoring side, which is a really important thing on our journeys, what's the best piece of advice you've received that you keep on using? Because good advice is something that stays there. You know what I mean?
So this will be another cliche, but the idea of work-life balance is so important. I'm always cognizant of not burning out and not going too hard. I've got 2 kids.
I don't know. You've been going pretty hard the last couple of weeks. I know that.
Well, there will be exceptions, fits and spurts along the way for sure. But generally speaking, I'm blessed with 2 wonderful boys, 17 and 20. My wife and I on Sunday will be celebrating our 22nd anniversary.
That's cool.
So I really like to make sure that I spend a lot of time there with my family, and I have a close friend of mine, Cherry Tan, who I think maybe as well. Maybe not. She's here in Toronto, but for some reason I thought we had talked about. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. But anyway, so she's her project is all about talking to founders about mental illness, and specifically, the dangers of burning out and what can happen and things like that. So that, to me, you have to push yourself sometimes past your limits, but you have to take breaks if that happens, because taking care of your mental health and your physical health. I practice yoga. I try every day. I try to do meditation and try to keep my mind clear. It's incredibly important. Otherwise, you cannot succeed with an all work focus.
What books are you reading, listening to, whatever at the moment? Or something, what books, it gets into a bit of both, what books have really, it's a bit of the mentoring thing. What books have influenced you that you keep, maybe opening up every so often and going back again?
So I have a few favorites for sure. One book that I just read not too long ago that a friend of mine recommended, I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. An excellent, really, really good book about a theoretical company and these things like how to make your team most efficient. But probably my most influential books in my life would be, I would say there's 3. Ishmael by Daniel Quinn, The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff, and the book by Alan Watts. So those would be very different. A lot of Eastern philosophy in some of them, but I go back to those books regularly, and just love all 3 of those.
So you talked about work-life balance, which is kind of interesting for me. my kids are long, I have grandkids, so I kind of look back at it and say, oh, maybe I didn't have the best work-life balance. Um, uh, what does a typical day look like for you? Because you are driving things pretty hard. I know that. How do you maintain the kind of focus that's needed to succeed with the kind of, I guess, attention that's needed to yourself physically and the relationships that you kind of that are so critical, basically.
Time management is a very valuable skill for sure, and I try to set a schedule even the night before, like in 1 hour blocks. If I have various tasks, I personally I cannot multitask. I believe that multitasking in general is a myth. I think people that say that they're good at it are good at faking it, but I think our brains are wired to only focus on one thing at a time. And when you try to multitask, you just do multiple things poorly. So it's very important for me. And I try not to get distracted. Like if I set an hour to do something, whether it's reading, whether it's, going through email, whatever, it's that task. I actually get anxiety when something pops up and I have to attend to it and I've got to switch, what I'm doing that I still have 20 more minutes of, and I have to go on to something else. It bothers me and I get actual anxiety from that because I like to stick to that schedule. So making sure that the physical fitness is in there, making sure that there's time for family in there. So my kids are 20 and 17. They're both in the house at the moment, which makes things a little bit easier. So I will coordinate with them and I'll literally get a block of time. I'll say tomorrow at 7:00, we're going to hang out and watch something on TV, or we're going to just chat or whatever. We're going to go out for a bite. And so, yeah, really trying to get that schedule and stick to it is very helpful and helps maintain that work-life balance.
So were you a morning or a night person in that organization?
Definitely morning. I am. I like to be asleep by 10. I like to be up by 6. I love the mornings. I come downstairs, the house is quiet and it's in the winter, it's still dark and everyone's still sleeping. And that's my quiet time. I make my coffee. I sit down. I don't look at email. I might watch a show from the night before or something like that. But it's just like, it's a slow, leisurely awakening into the day. I don't like jumping out of bed and having to rush to something. So yeah, definitely a morning person.
So I mean, apart from the crypto thing, which obviously you're immersed in, you're a bit of a futurist, I know. What are you most excited about these days in the world, the strange and wonderful world that we live in, basically?
It's certainly strange and wonderful, that's for sure. So I really am fascinated by the concept of the metaverse, and in terms of, in cryptocurrency now we're seeing it in NFTs. The largest is probably Decentraland, but there's Sandbox, there's Crypto Voxels, there's Somnium Space, there's a number. Uplift World is one that I'm personally involved in, and when you think like it rubs sometimes when you explain this concept, and if somebody doesn't know what this is, I usually say, have you seen the movie Ready Player One? And if you have, then you kind of have a general idea. And there's certainly, whether it's 2025, whether it's 2030, I don't know when it will be, but over the next few years, we will, as the technology evolves, eventually VR and will be full immersion where it'll be indistinguishable from the real world. You'll be able to put on maybe a full body suit and you'll have every sensation that you have in the real world, and you can meet with friends and whatnot. So a lot of people look at this as a dystopian future, but I think that it'll actually open things up. And, human nature is such, and we're seeing it now as things open up, how much we've missed human to human contact. So I don't think it'll ever fully replace that, but I just think it's to have a virtual online world or various ones that you can interact with, and you can meet with people, and you can, I'm building an art gallery, a fully immersive art gallery in my virtual world, so that people can come and they can see all of the art display that we're selling in the real world, and they can see it there, and they can in a three-dimensional space. And again, it's still very, very rudimentary compared to where it will be 5 or 10 years from now. So I just love this whole concept of the metaverse and where it might go over the next few years.
Very, very interesting. Russell, it's been great meeting you. For those that don't, we do know each other, but that's fine.
Full disclosure.
And lots of people listen to this. So how can people get a hold of you if you spot something that they want to follow up on? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I am on. You can certainly reach me via email, but just generally, I stick to Facebook. That's my one social media vice. But I use it personally, and I use it a lot for promotion of my business. So you can certainly reach me there at facebook.com/Russell Korus. That would probably be the easiest way. Anyone can send me a DM and I will respond. If we're not already friends, you can tell me that you saw me on this podcast and we can communicate.
Thanks, Russell. It's been great having you. You really appreciate you coming on Canada's podcast.
Thank you so much, Phil. Really great being on, and we'll talk soon. Nice to see you again.
This podcast is brought to you by Schneider Electric, supporting Canadian businesses with innovative energy management and automation solutions. Schneider Electric, your digital partner for sustainability and efficiency.